Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Bits episode. You join me with my buddies Tom and Max to talk about big news from Polestar. Actually, some really truly big news. They have laid out the roadmap of Polestar products in the US coming over the next 3 years. Now, Polestar's always been a little bit of an oddball of a brand because they were an in-house performance division for Volvo, and before that, they were just an aftermarket tuning company, and then they split off from Volvo to create their own brand. But it's always felt a little bit too Volvo to me to feel like their own brand, at least for Polestar 1 and Polestar 2, which were their first two models, convincingly or in order of how they've gone out, which is great. And then Polestar 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are all things as well. So in this episode, we're going to break down what each model is, what's happening with them, and the big updates that are coming. Also, you have two Polestar owners on the podcast. Both Max and I own Polestars. How's your car doing, Max?
It's doing great. Thanks for asking. So I have a Polestar 2. I got a loaded spec of the launch edition a few years ago, back when I was at a spec. Been driving it since, and it's my daily. I've think 70,000 miles on it now. It's holding up great. It is not a particularly efficient car, but it charges decently. I actually like the Google software in it. I'm able to use Apple CarPlay, which I like. And I think it looks sick. Every time I park it, it still got that curb appeal. I look back on it. People ask me what it is, and I have to tell them, oh, it's like a Volvo. And it basically was a Volvo with how it started.
Yeah, exactly. It's built on CMA, which is similar to the other ones. And I drove my Polestar here to do this show. I'm up at Colton's shop right now, and it's a weird plug-in hybrid. And no one knows what it is, but it's just a cool looking car. And I've been driving it all week. It's been wonderful. So fair to say that we are fairly big Polestar fans, or at least I love the design of the brand, the ethos of the brand. Tom, what's your feelings on Polestar? You've had a chance to see them before, and what do you think about the brand overall?
Yeah, they're one of my most favorite design vehicles on the market. After selling my three, I was heavily considering to use Polestar 2. And so I love Volvos already, and then full Polestar just kind of took it forward, modern, all these different things. Definitely my favorite design, especially those ones on there. Love them.
Yeah, so we have Polestar 2 on the left, Polestar 3 in the middle, and Polestar 4 on the right. And I guess before we get into all of this, I really think the naming convention of the cars doesn't make sense to a lot of people because it's in the order of which they were supposed to be released. Right, Max?
Correct. That's the logic that's supposed to be there. And I think earlier last year, they were indicating certain models like the Polestar 2, which was their first volume one. As much as I do love the Polestar 1 that you have, the 2 was their big, mainstream car. And they're like, oh, we're going to refresh it. It's going to be the Polestar 7, which led to all of these weird debates because it's like, well, are you just going to do like N plus 5 for every car that you refresh? And now it seems like they're not doing that. But I agree. It's a bit of a confusing lineup because a normal consumer, someone who's not you or I or Tom, doesn't have any idea when they hear Polestar and a number what that vehicle is.
Yeah, and I think Polestar's just struggled with this brand identity crisis for really since the beginning. They've never had their own brand identity and done their own thing. They're very Swedish, but they're also kind of Chinese, but then also kind of American, like with Polestar 3 being built here. And it's very odd. So, for those of you just watching now, Polestar 2 is on the left. That's the one Max drives. It's built on CMA. It's basically a coupified version of the Volvo XC40, which is now EC40, and it's fully electric. Great car. I love the Polestar 2. It has like really bad space efficiency, but just great driving
Really
dynamic.
bad efficiency in almost every dimension. It is like does not have good range. It's
Yeah,
pretty cramped inside, but it's built like a tank and it drives so well.
really just a great car. And then Polestar 3 is actually a fantastic luxury SUV. It's very comfortable. It has one of the best sound systems of any car. But then they launched it with this 400-volt system architecture that felt dated with a weird clutch disconnect and old school motor tech. And I was like, I couldn't figure out why they did all of this. And we're going to have a big update coming on that car. They're going high voltage. This is built on the SPA 2 platform. And then you have the Polestar 4, which is out and on sale in the US. I still have not seen one on the roads yet here. I have in Europe. I actually have never driven the Polestar 4, never even sat in it. Maybe one time I sat in it. But this is built on SEA. So it's like kind of like a stretched EX30 chassis. It's very similar to the Zeekr 001. And so here you have three Polestars on three completely different platforms with three completely different electrical architectures with no relation to each other. And that's been the confusing part, wouldn't you say, Max?
It's confusing. Yeah. I mean, all of them, as you pointed out, are kind of really good products in their own way. They have some compromises here and there, but if you were like cohesively thinking of this as a standalone brand, it makes no sense, right? Like, I mean, they're seemingly wasting a lot of resources redeveloping software and platforms across vehicles. That said, Polestar's secret is that they really can lean a lot on their former parent company Volvo and their current like financier and mostly owner Geely Group, which also has brands like Zeekr overseas, like in China. So Polestar does actually have access to a really good spicy lineup of technology across the group, but they also don't really have their resources as unified or as efficient as maybe they should be.
And this was Polestar 1. If those of you who are not familiar, I have many videos on that car and Polestar 2 across the channels, but just to show it here because it wasn't in that photo. Gorgeous car. So the big news is this right here. So Polestar starts largest model offensive in its history. 4 new cars in 3 years. Okay, their history isn't that long. So do you remember, Max, when Polestar launched? They were like, we have no history. They just ignored all of
Wasn't it because in the 90s they had the like reputation as Volvo tuners, as I understand it, right? And they were sort of in-house at Volvo, sort of not. And then like Geely made the decision when they had that big ownership stake in Volvo, right, in the 2010s to say, yeah, Polestar will be like a fresh start. And I think a lot of people raised their eyebrows at that because they're like, okay, you have a tuning performance brand, you're all electric, and yet your first car, the Polestar 1, beautiful as it looks, is like a hybrid, plug-in hybrid. So
yeah,
it was kind of confused from the start.
Yeah, very, very confused brand. And in fact, I've always been in the camp of like having Polestar just fold back into Volvo and replacing them with Zeekr here in the US. But seems like that's not happening. Seems like they're putting past the kickdown switch on the pedal to do some Polestar stuff. So here
I will give them some credit here. I don't know if people, if you've covered this on the Bits channel, right? But like Scout has been having a bear of a time because they want to do direct to consumer sales and all these things in the US. And Polestar does have this kind of cool advantage where like, because they're now very financially separated and distinct from Volvo, they can lean on the Volvo dealer network, but they can still be direct to consumer in the US. So as much as I agree that they haven't really had that brand buy-in in the US, it is interesting. One of the reasons I bought a Polestar was like they were one of the few brands, aside from Tesla and Rivian, offering a direct to consumer experience. And so
now,
it kind of does let them offer that.
Is it direct to consumer, or is it like manufacturer sets pricing and they have a separate agreement where the dealer has to honor that?
It's more the former. So it actually is direct to consumer. It's confusing though, because the dealer does fulfill certain things. So like I'm financing my Polestar 2, right? So that website is essentially Volvo Financial Services, but the Polestar version, I get my car serviced at a Volvo dealership who happens to partner with Volvo. However, if you or I walk into like the Denver Polestar space, that's unaffiliated and they don't do any like negotiation or haggling on price. Of course, just like Tesla, you can haggle on the trade-in and there's ways you can monkey around it. But the idea is that it's a much friendlier consumer experience. It's more online driven. It's less of the dealer model.
Yeah, and I would say that's been my experience. That was my experience when I got my car, and it's been really wonderful. So here's the big news. Polestar 5 is to start deliveries in summer. Now, the reason that's big news, and let me explain what the Polestar 5 is. We have a full video on this car on the Out of Spec Reviews channel when it launched. They don't even have it here on their website, do they? So the Polestar 5 is this, and it's basically their Porsche Panamera-esque competitor. It's a luxury, sporty sedan that's supposed to just munch miles, charge well, and handle amazing. There was an entire team of UK engineers that did all the chassis setup, all the performance tuning. They all got laid off, by the way, just recently. That whole division got shut down. But it's like so well done in terms of driving. I have not driven it yet. I saw the car. I fell in love with the car. I think it's beautiful and it's such a cool looking thing. And the reason it's such a big deal that it's coming here to the US is because when it launched at the official unveil at the IAA, I think it was, we were in Europe, wherever it launched. The US was not on the list of countries to get this car. My understanding is it's built in China. We get big tariffs here. And the fact that the US is saying we're going to get it here is awesome. The depreciation on this car will also be awesome. Max, what's your expectations for this?
Yeah, well, as a Polestar 2 owner, and most EV owners can tell you, it's probably going to be pretty epic. I mean, check out those e-tron GTs and, Porsche Taycans you can get now for like 40 grand or less. So I think at launch, this is going to be compelling in the sense of like it's a high technology platform. It's going to look really cool, like nothing else on the road. It doesn't actually have the best specs for range or 0 to 60 or even, charging, lots of the things us EV nerds like. But this kind of reminds me a little bit of the BMW i8, even though it's not a hybrid, right? It's like this brand's kind of attempt at like, here's our Halo prestige model. Most of what they sell probably at this point is going to be the Polestar 3 and the 4, which are like crossover type things, more or less. But this is like their, hey, we can make a really cool like Grand Tourer. And I like it. I think it's important for a brand to have a Halo product. I haven't seen one in person. I can't wait to, and I am glad it's coming to the US, though I'm curious if they're going to build it in Europe or how they're dealing with the tariff situation.
It could just be really expensive, low volume, and sort of built to order type situation. I mean, I think it would be a great daily driver, but they're going after Porsche with this car. That is literally their design targets. And then you look at, well, there's no way to disable stability control. And clearly here they're on ice trying to show it dynamically, but it looks like you're having to turn in to get the car to rotate, and it's not very drifty or fun or slidey. And that's always been the Polestar sort of driving dynamics, which is very sure-footed, very safe, but as fun as you can be while being safe.
I will nuance that though. I know, Kyle, like you've had a lot of seat time, like in the early Polestar 2 is like mine, right? And I do think like evidence the Polestar brand has changed a little bit is like the Polestar 2 now and many of their newer platform vehicles are actually rear wheel drive based. So like they have less of that understeer characteristic. And I think Polestar has leaned into like, if we're going to be separate from Volvo, one of the ways we're going to be is in some drivetrain tuning to let you have a little bit of fun, though they still do have that like safety DNA in there.
Yeah, so then just give us a picture of this in like full opposite lock, not like kind of ish understeering a bit through a corner. But the good news is that's coming. No one will buy it, unfortunately. That's going to be a problem. I really hope they do, though, because it's going to be such a cool car. And I can't wait to put this up against, I mean, it's really a Lucid Air or Taycan alternate choice. That's not better on paper, really, in any way, except for maybe the design aspect of it. Then they have some other news. A new variant of Polestar 4 coming in Q4. All right, we'll get there in a second. Let's come down through here. By 2028, Polestar plans to bring the following 4 new models to the market. So we already mentioned Polestar 5 is coming. Delivery is expected from summer 2026. That's only a few months away. I'm really excited to have that car here. Again, nervous about the price, but I think in euros, it was like 160,000 euros. This could be like 200 grand in the US max.
Yeah, and I'm curious, you might know better than me, Kyle. Does this have like carbon fiber or any of that Polestar 1, like really advanced composite tech? Because like it does seem to me like that price, even as a Halo car, is a lot unless there's something extra exotic in the design. Maybe not how much it functions, but like, do you know about that?
Yeah, there isn't that much. I mean, there are some mixed metals and some other maybe carbon infused tech, but it's a completely bespoke platform just for that one low volume car. I mean, this is R&D spend that you and I would like to do, Max, but makes no sense for the viability.
Yeah, pay the UK engineers who are, I'm sure, are awesome people who we had to lay off.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But so let's move on from the Polestar 5 because I think that's just going to be such a low volume car. But I'm personally excited for that. I could see myself driving that car, replacing my Model S with something like that. I think would be a really nice next vehicle. Polestar 4. Now, this is the current offering that just went on sale here in the US. That's the car that famously doesn't have the rear glass window. It uses camera only. And they said a new variant of Polestar's current bestseller. Well, they don't sell the 2 anymore. So, yeah. Okay. Based on some great technology, targeting a wider customer base by offering more versatility, to be launched later this year with deliveries expected to start in the fourth quarter of 2026. When they say versatility, do you think it's like a Polestar 4 all-terrain? Or do you think it's like Polestar 4 high voltage?
Well, I don't think high volt. I mean, I hope they'll update it to be high voltage. They're doing that with some of their vehicles, like Polestar 3, with the updated version of Spot 2. But I do think what they're going to do with Polestar 4 is try to kind of make it a little bit of like a V60 cross country. So it sounds like maybe make it a bit more of a wagon, a little boxier in the back. It'll have the physical like rear window. Maybe it's a regulatory thing. Maybe it's a customer base thing. They realize that not everyone wanted the camera. But they're hopefully going to make it kind of that more practical shape. Wagon would be sweet, and maybe lift it a bit, give it the plastic cladding treatment, which in some ways I think would actually almost make it a little bit more like Polestar 2, which is a lift back and has the black plastic cladding and all of that. So I'm really intrigued by that. I think Polestar 4, I'm kind of surprised they launched it as sort of a premium like vehicle, and it's actually they're discounting it pretty heavily right now. I think they dropped the MSRP by like $10,000, so it is actually the cheapest Polestar you can get new right now in the US.
Yeah, and I'm just looking right here. They said Polestar 4 Coupe is our current bestseller. I've never heard them refer to it as the
A
coupe.
four-door
Up until
coupe.
now. I also just hate everything about that. But already by the end of this year, we'll launch a new variant based on the same great technology. Can I just push back on that for a second? Zeekr offers the 001 in China and now in Europe, which is maybe Europe gets a low voltage one. Anyway, Zeekr has 001, same exact car underneath. It charges from 10 to 80 in 10 minutes, 9 minutes and a bit with the golden brick. And then we get the old crappy low voltage BS one. I don't know why we don't get the good one. That doesn't make any sense.
I think what they mean by technology is like the infotainment stack, which funnily enough actually works way better in Polestar 4 than it does in the Polestar 3 and the Volvo
Yes.
EX90 platform. So like
And
in
it
that
has dog mode.
sense, they're right.
Cool. So then the next big news is this is a Max world right here. Polestar 2. This was not the plan. This is the first time I'm hearing of a next gen Polestar 2.
They actually did say, I think last year, their CEO, who may not be the CEO now, but their interim CEO at the time, did say, "Oh, we do want to. The 2 is important to our DNA. We want to refresh it." Though confusingly enough, with today's announcement, at that time, I think they indicated the 7 would be the new 2, and now it seems like the 7 and the 2 are different. But they will refresh the 2, which is great. The U.S. viewers might not know the 2 still sells in Europe. I think they're actually pretty popular still. They have given it some nice updates, so it's not high voltage yet, but it does charge better. It's got a better CATL battery, more range, 200 plus kilowatt charging. It's rear wheel drive. It's actually more efficient now. It has a better system on a chip, so it's got like a Qualcomm infotainment, way faster than the one I have, which has the really crappy Intel Atom processor. So like they've also actually listened to you, Kyle. I think it has a Bowers and Wilkins sound system as well if you get the premium
Oh,
package in
no
Europe.
way.
Yeah. So like the
Need
spec to get is the European 2026 model, which sadly we never got in the US, and I'm so sad about that.
Tom, have you heard the Volvo Polestars, Bowers and Wilkins at all?
No, I've been trying to get into one for months. I got to
They're
test it
amazing.
out.
You got to go to a Polestar 3 and just crank that thing up because it's mind-blowingly good. It's so good.
I've seen the
Okay, so
driver setup. It's really impressive.
yeah, it's high quality stuff for sure. So Polestar 2 is coming. I don't know what that looks like. The question is, are they going to use SEA as the basis for all their vehicles going forward, or SPA 2, or what is EX60 is on
SPA 3.
SPA 3. So maybe Polestar 2 will be on SPA 3.
Perhaps I'm not sure Spot 3 can get that small, but then again, they might make Polestar 2 bigger. What we know is it definitely won't be CMA like it is now, right? Which is kind of has really limited it. Like we were complaining, like the interior space is very limited by that. So I'd expect to see maybe a bit more of an open cockpit, more space. I personally would love to see them keep it small or maybe even make it a little smaller while preserving the interior space, because especially considering where Polestar 4 is in the lineup now, that's kind of a big and heavy car. So if you can make Polestar 2 the fun, almost like hot hatch of the Polestar lineup, I think that's a pretty nice position.
Yeah, I think if they can go after R3X buyers or like Ionic 5, but a little bit smaller, that would be the move. that sort of fun vibe. And Polestar is supposed to be a fun, performance-oriented brand. And then the big news for me is the Polestar 7, which is still a ways away. And the reason I say the big news is because I'm really curious to see what they start to release on the Polestar 7. Because it could be anything right now. I mean, they could build it on any platform. They could develop their own new platform. If they're willing to develop a ground up platform for the Polestar 5, which is clearly going to be a low volume car, a Polestar 7 might be worthy of something like that.
Yeah, it seems like they're backtracking on that, though. We mentioned, right, the layoffs that happened with Polestar 5. So I think now that Geely's kind of taking more financial control of Polestar, they might be maybe clutching the purse strings a little bit and saying, hey, we have a lot of great tech. You guys should start using it because you've been spending way too much on R&D.
Yeah, the news around Polestar has been really doom and gloom. In China, they were shutting down a ton of stores. They just were not that popular. In the US, there's a lot of brand confusion around the products. There's a lot of loyal Polestar 2 owners. And I would say in general, the cars have been very reliable. Max is a great testament to that. And their service seems to be really good. And, that doesn't seem to be a problem. And Polestar 3 just had a really bad launch from a software perspective. That was a rough car.
Rough car, it's gotten a lot better. I think, though, Polestar has posted growth, modest growth between the US and Europe. So even though they're having a really rough time in China competing, with their own sister brand, Zeekr, they are actually doing really well, I think, in the West, where they're modestly growing. I mean, it's coming from a very small place, but they are actually showing year over year improvement. I think that might be partially be helped by, if we consider, like, lots of Polestar customers are probably people who also might have been cross shopping Tesla. And given that, like, a lot of people, for whatever reasons you agree or disagree with, are turned off by the Tesla brand, that probably helped, I think, Polestar a little bit with people going to cars like the Polestar 3 if they can't buy a Model X anymore.
What I'd really like to see Polestar do going forward is leverage more of that Geely know-how and the engineering group. Within especially Zeekr kind of being the tech leader inside the brand, they have amazing driver assistance technology that's already on the road in China. They have amazing battery technology that's already on the road. They have really amazing manufacturing tech, mega casting, giga casting, all that one piece structural components. EX60 is using a lot of that know-how as well. And I mean, they could have a chance to turn this thing around, Max. Like, it really, if they have the right product portfolio, I think they have the right brand image. They have really great cars, even though they're kind of all different from each other. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing right now, but I would like to see a little bit more cohesiveness across the model range and with a bit more focus on driver assistance and tech into the future.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I am a little skeptical of the driver assistance tech from Zeekr being ported over to the West, given that, like, regulations are tightening up about, like, export controls with the idea of Chinese software. That's a bipartisan issue, and so I think it's tricky. Like, I agree that, like, things like giga casting and manufacturing and batteries probably have to come over, but when it comes to the software, I do think we're going to be living in a bit of a bisected world, at least for now. And so I think, like, Polestar does kind of have to walk that tightrope. And maybe now that they are kind of somewhat retreating from China or not doing well, I'm curious if they will just be the Zeekr of the West, if they can kind of occupy that space. I think it'd be great. I'm curious, Tom, of these upcoming ones or of any Polestars of their lineup, do you think you see yourself maybe getting one of these, like a used Polestar 3 with that Bowers and Wilkins or something?
That's like we're probably looking at either that, or I'd still even go for a refreshed 2 because I love the 2's platform. Interested to see what that looks like, to your point, kind of like R3X type of thing. That would take all my money if they made like a hot hatch type of thing for sure. I love
Yeah,
that.
they know how to engineer a great driving car. And I think if they can just get up there, they already have a great buying experience. They have great driving cars. My biggest thing is, like, okay, just give me a little bit more than basic lane centering and we'll be good. Man, it's exciting. I really can't wait to follow the future of the brand. I thought we were going to get news reports saying this thing's all backing out. Zeekr was just here in the US. Well, Geely brought over Zeekrs and some other stuff for a bunch of media to drive because they're like, hey, we could launch some of these cars here with the South Carolina plant. So there's like this push to get more Geely group coverage. And I thought that was going to push Polestar back into Volvo a bit. It doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like Polestar is steadfast ahead, and they're going to develop their own model line. It's pretty freaking cool. And as a Polestar 1 owner, the only car I care about is the Polestar 6, which let's just show everyone that, because they didn't mention that here, but that's the best one.
Yeah, Roadster.
Exactly. Polestar. They don't even have it here on their website, really?
It might still be technically in the concept phase, though I know they've said they're releasing it. They just haven't really issued much material about it.
Is there a is there like a Polestar 6 page that we can find? There's Polestar 7. Let's look here. Polestar 6. Here it is. Roadster. Gosh, I would love this. This is like Jordan Schieffer's dream car.
Didn't they have the concept video, like the drone coming out of this and like filming you at one point?
Yes, and I was able to film the concept, and it's just so beautiful. That's a car that, like, it doesn't even have to move. I'll just park it somewhere.
Yeah, that's when you park like so inside your house and just look at it.
Yeah, and this might come out before the Tesla Roadster, if it ever comes out.
Oh man, we've been waiting so long. I do have, well, that's worth a whole episode, because I feel like I saw some Roadster stuff kind of trickle through, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's happening. Clearly, that's going to be a way better technological car than this in terms of power and all the stuff. I don't really care. This is the one that captures the heartstrings. It's so pretty. Like that angle right there. Oh my gosh.
The wheels.
Just can't beat that. All right. So let's end the episode with, out of Polestar 1 through 6, which one would you buy? Money, no object. Tom, go first.
Probably 3. I go fully loaded 3.
Interesting. So you're an SUV man.
Oh yeah, look what I have already.
That's true. That's true. Max.
I'm going to agree with Tom, actually. I think the 3, even though it says it's an SUV, it does have some wagon energy. It's got air suspension, so you can always slam it. As a like big Volvo fan, the 3 has the most DNA because it's so much of it is shared with Volvo, and I love that. As much as I love the whole Polestar lineup, I think there's really something special about just the Swedish energy going on in that car. I think it's underappreciated, and of course they botched the launch with the software, which it's a rough thing for early adopters. Like, it's a great thing for folks like Tom and I who are going to be looking in the used market for those in a few years. Of the newer stuff coming out, though, I really am curious what the Refresh 2 will be like, because they have done a decent job of keeping it, at least somewhat competitive in Europe. So if they have a real like full refresh coming, maybe they'll actually make it like a really competitive Model 3 or Hyundai Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6 fighter. Who knows?
Yeah, there's room in the market for that. There's very few of that sort of size sedan that can go up with Ioniq 6, which sounds like it may not even be coming back next year. We're going to be back to just the Model 3 again. So, I guess BMW is going to have maybe that electric sedan at some point, but it's open for the taking right now. And
Mercedes CLA, everyone forgets of that one.
I just forget about Mercedes electrics in general. I don't know why, because I've driven the CLA too.
I saw someone just tweet about it the other day and how they had an awesome charging session. I think it was a Mercedes employee, but they were at Iona, and I'm like, oh my God, this thing exists. I completely forgot about it.
Yes, we need to. Yeah, I need to just like run through all the Mercedes stuff again at some point. And out of the Polestar lineup, I like that you guys both said 3, because I think that's kind of the best overall car, especially with the model year 27 high voltage stuff that they did. I can't wait to try that out, but it should be awesome. For me, though, it's Polestar 5. I just think that, the amount of tuning time that went into that car and like engineering excellence for driving dynamics, at least from what it sounds like, is almost unlike any car that's launched other than like high-end sports cars. And
would you put it in the same league as Taycan in terms of tuning and everything, or better?
Well, I will have to drive it and find out, but I think similar, if not more effort.
Wow.
Is what it sounds like, which is, that's a huge high bar for a small automaker to go there to do that. So there we go. The very confusing Polestar lineup gets more confusing and more exciting. And I hate the numbered thing, but they're sticking with it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining, guys. And we'll see y'all on another one again soon. Bye-bye.